Hello, CEP 200 students, and welcome to Unit 5 of the course. I know I go through this every single unit video and remind you of how much you have left, but after Unit 5, you have Unit 6 and then a conclusion unit, and that is it. So the end is near. You just got to get through these last few weeks. What I want to start off with, I do want to refer back to the announcement that I had made for you last night, where I was really disappointed in the resource list assignments. There were a lot of them that were very well thought out. It was very clear that some of the students had taken the time to really look up the information and find professionals with the appropriate credentials that lined up with the credentials that our material had noted was necessary for someone in the particular counseling, in each particular counseling profession. So I had noted that a lot of them seemed rushed. There wasn't a ton of information in all of them as far as services and duties, the type of population served. I was really taken aback by seeing that someone had put that office was the setting. And again, I was really surprised to see that students were actually putting PT down for rehabilitation counselors, mostly because rehabilitation counseling was part of the unit in which you completed the resource list. So that should have been fresh in your mind if you had done the work for the unit. I know that some people did complete their resource lists ahead of time, but with that, I would have hoped that students would have really looked into the information that was necessary for each of the counseling professions and were cautious about completing the assignment, early and submitting it early. But there were not that many that were completed early, so I don't want to make it seem like there was a large portion of the class that, might have had an oopsie because they finished it early. So the resource assignment was very, very concerning for me, and I know that all of the information is there for you presented in the course. So I'm not entirely sure what had happened there, but I don't want to dwell on that too much. I wanna move on from that. So everything else looked pretty good. The unit assignments looked great. I had gone through the quizzes actually in the beginning of the unit before I think even maybe the unit was due, and manually graded anyone who might have maybe had like a grammatical error or something in the short answer questions and that the system had marked it incorrect. So I haven't really gotten any emails about that. So I think that was all solved at the beginning of the unit. So looking into the unit that you just completed. So this is a unit that I have been kind of going on and on about how important it is and how passionate I am about it. And that is the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. So you should have read all about this and watched all about it. I believe the TED Talk, yeah. So Dr. Nadine Burke Harris's TED Talk was required for the discussion board. So I'm really interested in seeing what your responses were to that. I do know that there's usually most of the students each semester end up very passionate about this study, as well as approaching trauma in whether it be children or adults or any population that you serve. It's very prevalent, and I think that I'm very clear in getting that message across within this unit. So I do find that students are very receptive to this information and do really recognize the importance of it by the end of the unit. So I'm really excited to look through your discussion board posts and really see what your thoughts are on it. And in addition to that, you should have submitted your Unit 4 assignment. So this unit wasn't too heavy. I hope it was kind of a nice break after having the resource list assignment and the other assignments within that unit. So for this upcoming unit, you are going to approach counseling. So basically, counselors in the expressive arts, which is kind of, this is where the musical therapist, the art therapy, and all of that kind of stuff would fall into. organizational counselors and pastoral counselors. So there was a couple, actually, I don't want to say a couple. It was there were not a lot of students who mentioned this in their resource list assignment, but there was one that stood out to me particularly that um, it was regarding organizational counseling. And I know that it's difficult because we hadn't approached this issue yet when we were completing the resource list assignment. But one of the things that I had wanted you to do was kind of go through your textbook and take a look at the information for each of the counselors, kind of skipping ahead. And so your textbook, while it is relatively small, should have been a good resource for you when examining like the duties and whatnot of all of the different counselors. And um, sorry for all the noises, it's my dog. Um, Organizational counselors do not provide traditional counseling, and that was something that I had seen come up in a resource list. So organizational counselors, they are generally most beneficial to large businesses, organizations, companies, that kind of thing. What they're responsible for is they're responsible for essentially looking at the data as far as turnover rates and employee satisfaction and kind of pulling in a psychological aspect and identifying and working with the agency on how those things can be improved. So it's more of like the title states, it's more of an organizational kind of thing for corporations and companies and that kind of thing. So these counselors typically do not provide traditional counseling. So for this, as far as your work in this unit, you are going to cover chapter 7, 9, and 10 in Halkowski. You are going to watch a short video on organizational counseling, which is pretty much going to summarize everything that I just mentioned to you about organizational counseling. You are going to read 3 different articles, and then you are going to complete the Unit 5 assignment and quiz number 3. So this unit, there's no big project or anything due like the resource list, but what I will say in reference to the resource list again is that I really hope that you guys are identifying counselors that you would have interest in interviewing if you have not yet already. I know I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. The interview of a professional paper is due within the conclusion unit, so that will be the week of December 2nd to December 6th. So that is when that paper is going to be due. All of the guidelines and expectations for that paper are already posted in the papers and projects section. If you want to get a head start on that and get it done sooner, totally great. But please just be mindful. We are approaching the end of the semester where most other college courses that require an interview, these students are going to be reaching out to these professionals for interviews. And I have received emails in previous semesters from professionals saying, please tell your class to stop emailing me. We don't have the opportunity or the time to be interviewing. So to avoid this from happening to you, please make sure you get your interview in as early as possible. The other thing is there's going to be students wrapping up internships. There's organizations that are reviewing internship applications for the following semester. So we just really want to make sure that we're getting a head start on this and we're not leaving it to the last minute. But I think that is pretty much it. Unit 6 is relatively easy. You do not have a unit assignment in it. You do have a discussion board with some other materials that you do need to kind of watch and read. So at this point in the semester, things are lightening up quite a bit. Other than that, I don't think that I have anything else to announce. Thank you for the students who actually are watching the unit videos. I have received some feedback from students in saying that these videos are very helpful and they are thankful for the fact that I did not discontinue recording them. If you have recommendations for further semesters on how to get students more engaged in watching them, that would be fantastic. And the reason I even started these videos is because initially when, teaching, I've been teaching at UB for a couple of years now. And I didn't used to upload unit videos. And some of the feedback at the end of the semester that I would get from students is that they wanted it to be more interactive in the way that they wanted videos from the instructor. They wanted the instructor to be more interactive with the class other than just simply having feedback on the assignments. So that is when I started recording these. And I have found in previous semesters that it is helpful with getting information across to students that aren't just through announcements or, discussion boards. So I know that some students do find these helpful, but if you have a way or a recommendation for me to get everyone else who may not really have any interest in watching the unit videos on board, that would be very, very helpful. So other than that, I don't believe I have anything else for this unit. As always, please email me if you have any questions or concerns, anything that's going on, that kind of thing. I think I've been still pretty good with getting back to emails and also being pretty lenient about assignments and whatnot. So if you have anything that comes up, please feel free to reach out and chat with me. Okay? All right. I will see you in the next unit.